Hello, everybody. I am Carissa from Harbour Community Kitchen, and I am joined today by Sarah Van Dijk, who is an inspector with the KFLA Public Health. So when you come into Harbour Community Kitchen to complete the inspection portion of your onboarding, you're going to meet with Sarah, and she's going to be the one that's going to take you through the process. So part of the reason that we're meeting here today is because we want to talk to you a little bit about what that looks like and what the expectations are, answer some questions that you might have, and also just so that you can get to know Sarah a little bit. So before we get started, I just want to say the inspection process is not scary. Everyone's always a little bit worried about it, but Sarah's role is really to educate and to help you and to support you. So it's really important. We'll mention that again a few times as we go through our chat today, but Sarah's here to support you and to help you out. So that's all from me. Sarah, it's really great to have you here. Thank you so much for your time. And I know I've given you a sort of little brief intro, but you might want to sort of say hello to everybody and introduce yourself to the group.
Hi, everyone. So as you know, my name's Sarah, and I've been inspector here in Kingston for 16 years this May. And my favorite part of being an inspector is the education portion, and I love being in the middle of the community. So I really am going to be one of your biggest cheerleaders, and I really am here to support you. And again, not scary. I really want what's best for you guys and what's safest for the public as well.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Sarah. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the inspection process from our end, and then I'm going to pass back over to Sarah, who can talk about sort of what that looks like from her. So part of the onboarding process that you'll go through with us at Harbour Community Kitchen is the inspection process. So that is all part of our onboarding. So you'll come in, and after you meet with me, we're going to go through the kitchen, and I'm going to show you all of, everything that you need to know for safety and to maintain the cleanliness of the kitchen. And then Sarah will come in and give the inspection. So it's not sort of, you're not going to be on your own. It won't be just you trying to figure things out. We're all going to come at this together as a team. You can feel free to ask me any questions in advance, but also when Sarah's there, she will answer any of your questions. So please don't be afraid to ask her any of the things that you've been thinking of. So we're going to book a time together. We're going to connect with Sarah. We're going to get that, figure out a time that works for everybody. And there are some forms that we're going to fill out on our end. So we can do that together if you want a hand going through that, or you can do that on your own. And then we'll book the inspection, and then we'll meet at the kitchen and we'll see Sarah there. So Sarah, from your perspective, what does the inspection process look like?
So the way we've worked it so far, the first inspection is what we call a pre-operational inspection. So that's what we kind of do before we let a restaurant open. So in the situation before you start cooking, we want to have a chat with what you're going to be cooking, how you're going to be cooking it, and how are you going to be storing it, transporting it, all that kind of stuff. So that first pre-operational inspection is again booked with Carissa. During that time, you don't have to have all the answers. Most people don't. You may have an idea of what you want to do, but it hasn't been fleshed out, and that's okay. Carissa is there to help you with your business model, and sometimes that comes into play with what you want to do for a food safety part of it. So you don't necessarily need to know what your business model is, but you're going to have an idea of what you might want to do, and then we start talking about how I can help you figure that how to do it. That's the safest. Sorry, we want to do it as safe as possible. So we're not going to say no to anything, but we want to figure out how best to support you and what is the most feasible for the food that you want to create and give to the public. So after we go through the pre-operational, you have an idea of what you're going to do. Then you're going to set up a time to start. You'll probably be given the green light. I don't think we haven't given anyone the not green light yet. So then you would set up a time to start actually bringing in your food and cooking. Once you set yourself up in the kitchen, and we would have already talked about, what you're making and how you're making it. Then I would find a time to come and have an actual inspection when you're actually cooking the food. This sounds way scarier than it is. It's just literally me watching a snapshot of time of what you might be cooking. I'm not going to be there from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Usually these inspections last from about half an hour to an hour. After that inspection, you'll get an inspection report just detailing maybe some of the items we've been talking about. And that's it. Depending on the type of food that you're making, if you're doing a lot of special events, a lot of catering, you may be more of what we call a high risk premise. So that means you would get 3 inspections a year. A lot of our Harbour participants we have as what we call seasonal. So that means they come and use the kitchen maybe 6 times a year, maybe 3 times they come and do a batch. So those people, we generally just do a 1 inspection a year. And then some fall in between where they're not catering, but they're cooking on a more regular basis. And those tend to be 2 inspections a year. So during that first inspection, we would sort that out. And then you would know going forward when to expect to see me again.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. So I think, that's really the process. You're going to get all of the information. I'm going to be there. Sarah will be there. You'll be able to ask any questions that you have. The whole point of this is to learn and to grow. And so you won't be doing anything that's new that lots of other people haven't done successfully before. And as I mentioned, both of us are there to support you. And so you're going to do great. It's going to be awesome. And then you can get started as soon as that process is done. Then we can get you started using the kitchen. So Sarah, we've talked a little bit about inspections and given some sort of a bit of background and information on that. The other sort of main piece where we work together with you is or beside you, I guess, is for special events. So special events are a little bit different. People who have gone through the inspection, who have a regular, ongoing business, and they're licensed with the city of Kingston, and all of these things can go and participate in these events. But if someone isn't operating a business on a day-to-day basis, but they do occasionally participate in special events, what does that look like? What does that process look like for them?
So special events, I think that's one of those misconceptions that everyone thinks, I want to get into the business and I'm going to do special events. There's a lot that goes into them, and there's a lot of liability because we have a lot of people going in, and there's, generally a lot of food being produced at that time. Something I do want to highlight here, and this is not necessarily a public health requirement, but there are certain big special events within the city in which the city of Kingston also licenses you. So it is a lot of paperwork. So an example of that would be Rib Fest or Art in the Park that happens over Canada Day weekend. Those are some of those big ones. So be prepared if you're going to be going into any of those events that you're going to have there's a lot of paperwork. So you'd have the city has their own requirements, and then we would have our own requirements as well. So for any event, the process is generally the same for us. And I'm going to share my screen to show you how to get to where you need to go. Carissa, I think you need to let me share the screen now.
About that.
Perfect. Okay, well, now you can see my desktop. Okay, hold on. I've saved too much on that. Okay, so I'm going to take you right through like how to get to this permit. So I'm on my Google page. So I am going to Google KFLA public health. Okay, so that brings us to our website. From this website, so this is kind of going back a step, and before your inspection for a new premise, you would fill out a form that's on here as well. Most things you can just kind of search for the search bar, but everything that would pertain to a food premise would be under organizations and professionals, and then under business owners, operators, and vendors. So that takes us to this page, okay? So just like, again, if you have any issues with any kind of rental issues or anything like that, that would be in here as well, and any place that we would inspect. So under food premises, I'll just take you here quickly. And then under operating, constructing, or renovating a new food premise, this is where the notice of intent to operate a food premise application would be. So that's what we would fill out prior to us setting up a pre-operational inspection. This is also a form that either I'm probably the better person to help you with. So you do have any questions and you can email me about it. But as long as you're putting in this application that you've talked to Carissa at the Harbour. We're talking about special events, but I'm scared of sharing my screen now, so I am going to go through this just because I know there's certain sections that people get mixed up on. So let's just take a minute and we'll go through this quickly. So this form can seem really intimidating. We've discussed changing it, but it's hard to change it for just one place and not all the places. So for right now, this is what we have. So as you go down this form, there's these red asterisks. So if you don't fill anything out, then it won't let you submit. So you have to put something in there. So business name, if you are really brand new, you don't even know what your business name is, you can just write anything in there. Or to be determined, okay? If you do have your business name, that's great. This stuff is pretty straightforward. Your name, your business owner address. Your type of business, often you're going to be a sole proprietorship. You're not a partnership or a corporation. You're not a home-based business either, because you're going to be working out of the Harbour. But you will be using a rented commercial kitchen. So you're going to say yes here. And then this is going to give you, you're going to fill this out and you're going to use Carissa's name and you're going to say the Harbour. As soon as our program assistants see that it's the Harbour, then the rest doesn't matter as much because they know where to put you and they know you're going to come to me. So this is the most important part of this application. Everything else, if it's too confusing, just do your best and we'll figure it out. So this doesn't have the red asterisk. You don't have to browse or upload your lease agreement. And this stuff just kind of go through the motions. So you are going to be a new business. You're not existing unless you have been working somewhere else, like next church, and you're moving over, then you would be existing. So if you've already been inspected, you're existing. If you've never been inspected, you'd be new. Days and hours of operation, this can be to be determined. You may not know. You may think that, you know, it really depends on the availability of the kitchen. So most people, when they're applying, don't know this, and that's okay. Is this a seasonal business? So we kind of talked about this. We have some operators who only come into the kitchen just before big holidays and they're baking for those events. So that would be someone who would be a seasonal business. If you're not seasonal, that means you're working on a routine basis. You're there, you know, once a week at least, or some kind of regular stance every Friday or something like that. Water supply, don't get too thrown by this. You would be municipal. If you write it wrong, it's not a problem. I know the Harbour, we all know the Harbour, so that's okay. Waste disposal, you would also be municipal. And this one I find it is confusing because you may not know. The AGCO is the Alcohol Gaming Commission. So this is asking if you're going to serve alcohol. Most of you are going to be a no to that. So again, would be for caterers, but most caterers don't have their own liquor license either. That would be something that was separately applied for. So that's a no for most of you. These ones are confusing. Again, you don't need to answer these ones. Indoor seating capacity, outdoor seating capacity, proposed number of management, number of employees. If you put NA for all of these, there's no red star here, so you don't have to fill those out. You can still submit the form. And proposed date of opening. Again, does not have to be perfect. Because this is something that we're going to, like, once you've applied, I'm going to talk to Carissa, I'm going to talk with you, and we're going to figure out what time works for the three of us. So this is not set in stone in any way. Type of food premise, do this the best that you can. Some people are bakers. I don't think we don't have a proposal for a butcher shop yet. Some people who work at the kitchen do have potentially a mobile food premise in association to the kitchen. but most of you probably will be like a food takeout. So this one is the tricky part because it's not going to let you go past it. It'll say, please upload digital copies of relevant documents. So what you can do here is just, take a screenshot saying, as per, the Harbour or anything really, and that will get you, and unfortunately that is a bypass to this part. But this one I do like to see, the second one, is what menu items will you be serving? So this gives me a better idea of what kind of business model you might have and what you're really attempting to do. And then finally, this one is important. We do want you to have your safe food handler training. So you say yes or no here. And then this one here is provide a brief description of your proposed operation. So that's really your business model. Again, if this isn't, you don't really know what you're going to do, you have an idea, but that may change. That's totally okay. Do the best you can with this. Okay, so that's it. I do want to say that we are not all computer savvy, and that is okay. So if this is overwhelming to you and you're like, oh, I can't do this, please don't let this be, the end of your journey. There are other ways we can go about it. Chris and I have worked together to fill out, to create a Word document that might be easier for you to fill out. And we can always print these forms and fill them out together in our pre-operational inspection. If this is just too overwhelming. So please don't let this be a barrier to your future at the Harbour. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to organizations and professionals, and then business operators and vendors to my list. And now I'm going to take you on the special event journey. So we're going to scroll down to special events for organizers and vendors. This one's easier to find if you do it in the search bar. You just put in special events and you'll be able to find the web page. Okay, so here's our pretty page. So what you need to know is we would like to have the application 14 days before your event. This gives us time to contact you if there's any issues we might have prior to. We have time to fix them before your event and make sure that we are both set up for success, that if we show up, things are the way they should be, and that you have all the expectations in your toolbox. So when you arrive, you don't have that extra anxiety too of what we may require. Okay. So most of you won't be organizing events. If you are, then you would go into information for event organizers. So the organizer of the event has their own application. So in this application, they're going to talk about the all-encompassing event and all the vendors that may be coming. You as a vendor, your obligation is to fill out the vendor application and then submit it to your organizer. If you are the only vendor and there's no organizer, then you would still fill out just the vendor application. So information for event vendors, there's lots of information here, and we're going to go through some of it. Now, I'm going to take you through the PDF version. So this is the one that you would print out, because this is the one that I created that is way easier to follow. When we put things online, it changes a little bit, and so does the questions and the intent. So I find it a little more confusing. So if this is your first time going through it, I highly suggest printing out the PDF and filling that out long form and submitting that. There's nothing wrong with doing it that way. So that form should go back to your organizer. The other place that you can send it is you could either scan or take pictures of it and email it to envirohealth at KFLA.ph.ca, or you can hand deliver it to 221 Portsmouth Avenue here in Kingston. Okay. And if you really get thrown for a loop, you can email me or call me and we can figure out how to pick it up. If somehow they arrive at Carissa, I can drive down and pick them up at Carissa. Again, don't let this be a barrier for you not participating. We want to be here to help you. Okay. So this application, I know people really dislike it because it's long, but I created it as an educational tool to show you what expectations we have are surrounding our special events. Okay. So as you go down, It does talk about the different things that are required. You can have a read through that. So this is pretty straightforward. So your vendor information, phone number, email address. This will ask for our most recent health inspection. So you can say, yes, if I've been to see you, even if it's a pre-operational, that will show up on disclosure on our website. And then you can say, this is the last time I've been seen and this is who I saw. It asks you to attach your most recent inspection report. Again, if you don't have that ability, there's no problem with that because usually they'll all have it. This is more for out of town vendors. We want to know that someone has seen them and that inspection report is, a good one, it doesn't have any alarms, red flags. Okay, so this is something that we can work through if you don't know how to attach your last inspection report. We do require that you have your food handler certification. So again, this one is not going to ask you to upload it like the notice of intent for a new food premise. Just going to say yes or no. Okay. Event information. So this is important to know where the event that you're going to, the dates and the times, and the location. So that's straightforward. Now this is the favorite. This is the meat for me. This is the most important page. So what food are you serving? What are you doing on site? What are you doing off site? Is just going to be a pre-packaged events, and are you going to be providing samples? So these things all contribute to what we would call the risk of what you're providing, and it tells us what maybe extra requirements you may need. Maybe it's hand washing, it's hot holding, it's cold holding. Okay, so this one's important, and all details are important. So if you are doing a lemonade, or you are doing, you are going to have bagged chips, or, you are going to be having a sample of something, we want all that information in there. So if you're preparing foods off-site, so you have the Harbour kitchen, which is awesome. So you would put that information there that you're, preparing at a commercial kitchen. That's the important part, is we want to make sure that you're not preparing it at home if you're not already inspected at home. Okay. Who's giving you the food? So this may seem like a silly question, but if you're going to No Frills, or you're going to go to the wholesaler, or you're going to go to Costco, we want to know kind of where you're getting the food. Same if you're going to, a different butcher shop, you're going to Quinn's, or you're going somewhere else, we kind of know that as well. Okay. Hand washing. So normally, not to go to too much detail, so that we would look at your food and what you're doing. So if you're doing a sample, you're reheating food, you're serving food where you have to use a ladle or tongs to give it to the members of the public, we would require hand washing. There's going to be a question here. Is it a fixed sink, or is it a portable temporary hand wash station? So a fixed sink would be something that is hooked into plumbing and that has an actual sink that's going to waste. Most of us are going to have that portable sink or temporary hand wash station. I'll show you another diagram after about what that might look like. And then we are going to ask you too, are you going to have liquid soap and paper towels? So again, this may be kind of silly, but this is kind of leading you to the answer of what we want you to have. Okay, so this is usually you want to say yes and then provide this. If you're just doing pre-packaged, everything's, maybe you're selling cookies and they're already in a package bag and you're just giving them out, you don't have to have a hand washing sink. Okay. Cleaning and sanitizing. So we do ask for most times, again, if you're sampling or giving food, that you do have a bleach or quaternary ammonium based product. This is something that the Harbour has, and I think Carissa even provides that to you in your onboarding. So this would be an easy one to say it's a quaternary ammonium. Again, if you have any questions, you let me know. Food handling, dishwashing equipment. So if you have a 3-day event and you're out there and you don't have anywhere to wash your utensils, you may need to provide a 2-compartment sink. Because you're using the Harbour, you have the dishwasher there, you can bring everything back to go wash it there. So you do not necessarily need to do that if you're a special event vendor with the Harbour. This is another important one. How are you bringing the food there? Is it cold? Is it hot? So this is also leading to you to the answer. Cambro units are useful to keep the food nice and hot, or insulated cooler. So this, again, educating you on the different steps that you might need hot or cold food. Okay. And then if you're reheating, this is important too. So say you've cooked a bunch of food and it's cold, but you want to serve it hot. So you're at the event. You want to make sure you have something that's going to bring that food up to temperature quickly. Slow cookers tend to not be so reliable because they take a long time to get to that original cooking temperature. So you want something that's reliable, a barbecue, or a flat top if there's electricity. Those are things that will bring the temperature up really quickly. This one's also important. I know it's also annoying, but this is, so again, if you print this out, it's easier to kind of hand draw it. We want to know where everything is going to be when you set up. So say you do have to have a portable hand washing station. We want to know where that's going to be in your setup, how many tables you're going to have, and the flow. So we may have some direction as to, you know, where the hand wash sink is, where you're serving from, where the hot holding or where the reheating might be. So this one is an important one. Okay, so any other comments you might have, and then you sign off on it. Okay, so I'm going to take you back to, oh, this is hard to see. Nope. Sorry, I'm going to take you back to the special event page, which I can't do. Sorry, guys. Okay, this is how I would do it normally. I'd type in special event. Would come up here, special events for organizing vendors. Okay, back on the page. So the other thing I want to show you here for information for event vendors. So there's some extra information here. So there is this one here. So this actually shows you how to do a temporary setup if you don't have a portable hand wash. Okay, so all the directions for how to do it are right here. You have your camp style canteen of water. We're going to tell you to fill it up with warm water that morning because warm water is best to wash your hands. You got soap and paper towel, and then you have a bucket to discard it. So this gives you the directions to do that. Can you see my screen right? Oh, okay. Okay, and then the other one I want to show you is this one. So this is the special event checklist for vendors. This tells you everything that you might need. So before your event, you're going to print this off and you're going to make sure that you have all of the things that are here. Okay. So normally when you, after you fill out your special event application, this is something that we would send to you or go over with you on the phone as we're approving your event. And I think there's one last, would just be the information vendor page. So on this page, it's just all the same things that we just talked about, but there's just a little bit more information, how to apply for it. So everything we've just gone over. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I recognize that that's a lot of information. I've kind of shown you where it is on the page, but part of the benefit of being associated with Carissa Keys and the Harbour is you get some special treatment. So if you have any questions as a member of HCK, then you can always reach out to me and I can help support you figuring this out. I've definitely sat with other participants in our lobby at KFLA filling these forms out with some other vendors. This is not something that we have to do all, you know, I probably shouldn't advertise that, but I'm not, this is something that I would do. So if you have any questions, we can definitely go through it together. Again, my best advice is to print these things out because it makes way more sense. And if you don't fill, if there's some questions, you can add in like a star, I mean, like, not sure what this means, and I'll totally get that and we can go over it after. Okay, so more of a formality than anything else. So
that's awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. Like, actually, I had some questions written down, but you answered all of them when you went through, you know, when you showed us through the website. Thank you very much for doing that, because I think, you know, when we're launching any business, but especially a food-based business, there are so many little bits and pieces that you need to know about, and it's really nerve-wracking. Everybody gets a little bit nervous about this. You know, they're worried that they're going to miss something or make a mistake and then everything will get canceled. And I think I would like to say to the group, I have been working with Sarah now for about a year and a half, maybe a little bit more than that. We haven't had any of those things happen yet. Really, what we've had is Sarah and myself and yourself working together to figure out how to make things work. And if we come across any problems, if we run into any difficulties, then we figure out ways to solve those together. So you're not going to be alone. The purpose is, as I said before, to get you started and to get you going. I encourage you to, even if you're worried or the forms are difficult to read, just have a look at the website anyway. Try to go through some of those, try to read through and see what's being asked of you, but don't feel that you then, can't come back and ask questions. So we're here to help you, but because you're growing a food-based business, because you're building a business, you need to know about these things beyond the support of the two of us. So, as you build and grow, you're going to come across these forms and these kinds of experiences again and again over time. And so the best way to do, to move forward is to just keep learning and keep asking questions so that you understand more and more. Even sometimes you might see a question and think, why are they asking that? That doesn't make any sense. That's a great time to say, hey, why do you want to know this? And then you can learn the reason behind it. And it'll just be that much easier the next time you go through the process. So
Yeah, sorry, Carissa.
no, you're okay. Go ahead.
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. We all make mistakes, or just do your best to fill out what you can. But what Chris is saying is absolutely correct, because within the city of Kingston, like their applications, if you get to some of these bigger events where you can make more money, they're just bigger. There's even more paperwork. So exactly echo what Chris just said.
Awesome. So, Sarah, as I mentioned, you answered all of the questions that I had written down.
Oh.
I don't have any further questions for you today.
Okay.
I really just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me and to give this information to the group. Really will help everybody to to learn a little bit more and to have a little bit of direction and to get to know you a little bit. I also really wanted to chat with you today so that people knew so that they know both of us and they know who they're going to meet and what that's going to look like. And also that, it's not, for sure, it's something to be taken seriously, but it's definitely not something to lose sleep over. So the goal, to everything that I've seen so far, the goal of public health is to educate you, to inform, and to provide a level of protection for the public. So just like you wouldn't necessarily want to go to a restaurant where public health hasn't come in to check and make sure everything's being done safely, the same applies for folks, other folks who want to have something yummy to eat. So, we're all in this together and we're all working towards the same goals. And, Sarah has shown me again and again, she is here to support you and to help, and I am as well. So, let's go ahead and get started and help you launch or grow your food-based business. So thanks very much, Sarah. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, anytime.